I'm much better now. The cough is gone. Did I tell you? Thank you guys for that remedy that you all gave me, Miss Gemini. And with the garlic and the whiskey, with the lime, and the honey. I love you guys. You love me. I love you too. And the outstanding balance is down now to negative 105. I'm still in the hole, but it's not 300. It's now negative $105. I love you. Thank you. Keep it coming. I'm finishing the series today. I'm finishing it today. Mars in Capricorn, Mars in Aquarius, Mars in Pisces. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. And then we're done with the series. I would love the 105 in the hole to be completely gone by the time I'm done, so that I can begin the new series tonight at 8 o'clock. Well, not at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, which is the Ascendant. I'm going to discuss the Ascendant and what it means to have the Ascendant, the signs. And I'm going to do three per every 2 hours. Donate nicely. And thank you for getting me out of the hole. Again, $105 is still negative on my account. Let's get rid of that. Okay? I'm finishing today. And I send a lot of love, a lot of light for those people who did this. And I still love you. I still wish you the best. And that is how I respond. And when you do good, the universe ultimately will get you out of the rut. And you guys are getting me out of the rut. Thank you. Because when you do good, the universe rewards that. And I'm going to reward you. Okay. I got my music going. I cannot drink vodka because of my lungs. I gotta let my lungs heal. So I'm drinking Guinness, Irish lager. I'm not allowed to advertise, but fuck it. Guys, you gotta buy this. You gotta buy this. I moved it around so you don't get to see, so I don't get infringement rights. Because I'm not getting paid by the beer companies or the brewing companies. Imported from Ireland. Delicious, and it's very good for you. That's why I'm advertising it, because it's good for you. Okay? And it's good for me. Look at me. You don't hear the rock. Mind over matter. You heard me. Behave. Be good. You got to talk to your body. It's called energy psychology. There's a guy named Bruce Lipton. Go on YouTube and look at Bruce Lipton. I don't subscribe to any website. The only website I subscribe to is Bruce Lipton. That motherfucker got it right. Oh, you got to see his videos. I endorse it. Bruce Lipton. Oh, I'm going to let you discover what he's about. I agree with everything he says. Everything. Holler to Bruce Lipton. Fantastic. Another healer. And what a healer he is. Okay, now we are going to talk about Venus in Pisces. As a pre-existing pattern, the Venus in Pisces person has been learning to embrace on an archetypical level. And it's important to mention that because on a mundane level, the Venus in Pisces psychology and personality is that of sorrow. Someone said that most of my descriptions of Venus in Pisces is negative. And a lovely person. And you know what? I agree with her. It was negative. But Pisces is the sign of sorrow. It is negative. And I have a strong 12th house. All my planets in Virgo are in the 12th house of Pisces. So I know what that is. Look at what's happening to me with the money and the betrayal and people doing what they're doing to me. All that stuff is Pisces. How I respond to these situations is the test. So, la 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 la. Cha 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 nada más. I'm back to myself. And mainly because of you guys. I love every single one of you. So, um, going back to the Venus in Pisces as a pre-existing pattern, the Venus in Pisces individual is here to find a transcendental value in which they can aspire, because they want to know what is the meaning of life. They want to know the ultimate meaning of life. One that embraces everything and everyone, including animals and plants and insects. Venus is exalted in Pisces. It is a place of true altruism. Some of the best composers, musicians, artists, literary experts have Venus in Pisces. It's a wonderful, wonderful position to have if you are an artist. It's wonderful. But the best position for Venus, artistically speaking, is Cancer. Venus in Cancer. It is the signature of the artist. But of course, Cancer, being cardinal, takes the fore. And it is emotional water, like Pisces. So you'll know. Let's put you over here. Okay. So they want to know the meaning of life. They want to know what that is. The evolutionary process leading to this needs to be um how can I phrase this? The evolutionary process leading to this need has been a series of lifetimes in the making, in which the individual has experienced in many, many lifetimes. In many, many lifetimes. Again, remember? Remember the diagram? Venus in Pisces is over here. Many incarnations. And every single one of these incarnations has led to disillusionment, disappointment, pain, and sorrow. The soul is heavy in his or her or in its, because there's no sex assigned to it yet. The soul lays heavy. Every incarnation has been wrought with tragedy and pain. Cante bailo hasta que no puedo más. Okay, cha cha cha. Okay, so much pain, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, that it wears on the soul. So now the soul wants to find an incarnation, or wants to experience, more likely. The soul wants to experience, for the first time in its cycle, some kind of transcendental truth that will explain the sufferings, the pain, the disillusionment of life itself. It wants to transcend that. All these incarnations, the person has experienced loss, betrayal, pain. So when the soul reincarnates into a personality that has Venus in Pisces, they're saying enough, enough. You need to watch the movie by Jennifer Lopez called Enough. Hasta que no puedo más, te bailo. Hasta que no puedo más. That means enough. You need to watch that movie by Jennifer Lopez, Enough, where she was in a domestic violence situation and where she was being abused left and right, and finally she got the courage to kick the motherfucker's ass, and I think in the movie she killed him, like in Farrah Fawcett's The Burning Bed. This also is true when we have Venus in Aries. But remember, Venus in Aries is no different than Venus in Pisces. They're two sides of the same polarity. The Venus in Aries has had enough abuse. Enough! So now the Venus in person is here to kick ass. The Venus in Aries person is here to kick ass. Kill Bill. It's different when Venus is in Aries. I mean, when Venus is in Pisces. Aries won't turn the other cheek like the Venus in Pisces person would. The Venus in Aries is enough, while the Venus in Pisces questions why. Why does it have to be like this? Why pain? Why suffer? Why is there so much pain in this world? Why do animals have to kill each other in order to eat? Why do we have to fight one another, destroy one another, in order to understand the divinity within each other? Why must we learn through pain and conflict and disillusionment and disappointment? What does it all mean? Venus in Pisces. It is a painful process that plagues the Venus in Pisces individual. They feel the pain of even a dog, a cat, an insect. If they step on an insect or a cockroaches, they feel the pain of that cockroach that they killed. It's very sensitive. Aye. But through that sensitivity, you have some of the most beautiful creations of human art, literature, music. Just the expression of that pain can be through literature, music, art, or even teaching, or even being a nurse or a healthcare practitioner that offers compassion and empathy. Because these feeling and emotional states can also be healing. To offer empathy, compassion. Not with Venus and Aries. Fuck all that shit. Enough of this. Enough! Let's sword the sword and kill the motherfucker. Fuck that shit. Leave the boo-hoo-hoo for Pisces. Now here, fuck that shit. Kill Bill. Because remember, Venus rules Libra. Uma Thurman, the actress who played, Kill Bill. Or, the actress. It's a Libra. That movie defines Venus in Aries. And I gotta talk about that as I talk about Venus in Pisces because they are interchangeable. Remember, it's the snake biting its own tail. The head is Venus in Aries, and the tail of the serpent is Venus in Pisces. When they bite and create a circle, or the infinity circle of life, it all becomes relative. The Venus in Aries can become Venus in Pisces, and the Venus in Pisces can become Venus in Aries at any time. It is a shifting. Okay? So understand that with this powerful disillusionment that has gone on for eons and eons of incarnations, the Venus in Pisces individual has had enough. Enough pain. Enough sorrow of all kinds. It wants to understand why it has to be this way. Venus in Pisces. Even though Venus is exalted in Pisces, it does bring the most painful of experiences. I can understand why that woman said that most of my description of Venus in Pisces is negative. In a way, it is. In a way, it is. But not because I say it is, because that is just the skeletal framework of that sign of the zodiac. It's designed to hold all kinds of experiences. What I said before, consolidation of human experiences throughout many lifetimes. And these experiences have to be accounted for, and a synthesis has to be created to justify or explain the meaning of these types of experiences and why, as a human species, we go to these experiences. And what does it mean in the end? Venus in Pisces. This type of disillusionment, this type of painful experiences that have been accumulated over many lifetimes with the person born with Venus in Pisces has developed a situation in which this situation, this field bed of experience, has created a sense of total meaninglessness associated with temporal values. What do I mean by temporal values? That which is important for you at the moment. For others, like having sex can be very important to many people. But someone who's on the internet jerking off watching pornography can do that all day, all night. And that could be a value that they, for whatever reason, enjoy in self-pleasure versus copulating with another human being. And that could be temporary, die. Falling in love and experiencing the honeymoon phase of love. But it doesn't last forever. It dies and then you have the bad situations come by. So what is the meaning of human relationships if the experiences that we go through as we interrelate with one another is short-lived? The honeymoon phase, the honeymoon phase doesn't last long. The fighting phase doesn't last long. Everything in the human experience that brings joy and pleasure doesn't last long. Have you ever noticed that? It withers, it separates. There's a time to come together, there's a time to come apart, and then there's a time to reunite again. You know, relationships go through so many kinds of transmutation or changes. Most of it unpleasant, difficult. But then again, this is the alchemy that leads towards spiritual growth, dissipation of the ego, and total union with the creator, with the source. For that to happen, there has to be a renunciation at the mundane ego level. And what causes that kind of renunciation? Pain, sorrow, disillusionment. When you go through all kinds of disillusionment and pain, what do you want to do? You want to continue going through that shit? Or you want to transcend it and not come back here? Just like having planets in the 12th house, these people are at the end of their rope, evolutionarily speaking. So is the person born with Venus in Pisces. They're here to make one final decree, which can lead to the right or to the left. The two fishes going in opposite directions. Do you see that? Let's let that sink in for a minute. Let it sink in. There are many individuals, many individuals that they have Venus in Pisces. Many individuals with Venus in Pisces have not consciously conceptualized or realized the archetypical intent, which is to embrace a transcendent spiritual value system. The archetypical intent is governed by the subconscious of the soul. The people born with Venus in Pisces are not in psychological awareness that they're here to embrace the spiritual, not to run away from it, but to embrace it. And that is the rope or the hand that grabs them and pulls them out of that hole and brings them to a better place, a better space psychologically, a better clarity and understanding by a spiritual reference versus a mundane reference, which provokes more questions than answers them. Whereas if you go towards the spiritual, you will find the answers. Venus in Pisces. Well, that means money. Okay? So, this is important to understand because until they do embrace the spiritual, they will not have a clear and solid sense of who they are. And the experience of disillusionment will continue to occur. That was huge what I just said. Let that sink in. Or should I repeat it? If the Venus in Pisces person does not embrace spirituality as their last resort towards explaining or understanding the code and meaning of life, then they are going to continue to suffer the injustices that are awarded to them on a mundane level, which of course always deals with the ego and the personality, which are considered lower natures of the spirit. The higher expression of spirit is the soul. Venus in Pisces. Okay? For these individuals, the inner world is more or less like a giant movie in which a diversity of images, plots, scenarios, and possible realities swirl around in different combinations. It can be confusing for the Venus in Pisces person. Okay? It can be confusing. Within this inner world, the Venus in Pisces person instinctively imagines him or herself in these different roles, like an actor who assumes the identity of a specific character in a movie or in a play. By imagining and trying on these different images and identities like the different parts in a movie, the Venus in Pisces person tries to relate to the ones that feel most like him or herself. Like Venus in Libra or Mars in Libra, trying different hats to get different types of experiences in order to find out the composite of the whole. It's compare and contrast, which I mentioned is a Venus function. So here we see that same psychology of compare and contrast in Pisces, but the compare and contrast is between the mundane and the spiritual, whereas the compare and contrast found with Venus in Libra is that of compare and contrast within different churches within the mundane level, because Libra is not really that embracing of spirituality. They don't really believe much in that. Not in the sense that Venus in Pisces does. So the Venus in Libra person will be more lost than the Venus in Pisces person and might remain lost for many incarnations. Whereas the Venus in Pisces person has the option to get out of that hellhole cycle if they only leave behind the mundane, which Libra will not leave behind. But with Venus in Pisces, if you leave the mundane and grab onto the spiritual, then you have it right. Then everything will fall in place. The challenge becomes, do you have that kind of belief system? And if you don't, are you willing to take the risk to find out? Venus in Pisces. Okay? So, having said that, an additional cause that creates this need is rooted in a deep inner feeling of impurity. It's so funny that that should come up. Why do you think that the Venus in Pisces person feels deep down a sense of impurity? That they feel dirty somehow, morally, spiritually, which keeps them from embracing it because they feel unworthy, they feel blemished, stained. Remember, Pisces is a sign of the whore, the harlot, and Venus is the love planet and sex. And to have it in Pisces, you have a whore on wheels. Part of the expression. for both men and women. Venus in Pisces can make you a total whore. And I don't say that in a negative, derogatory term. Remember, I'm using terms that are used in occult language, in occult philosophy, in esoteric language. They use the word whore and harlot in these occult doctrines concerning Pisces. So please don't think that these are my words saying that about Pisces. I find them offensive, but that is the language that is recorded according to the ancient wisdom teachings. Does that make you a bad person, a bad human being because you like to have sex with multiple men or multiple women? No. Understand that Venus in Pisces is an excellent position for the sexual healer. You got many sex workers, people who work in the pornographic industry, myself included at the time, who love being indulgent in sexual practices with both men and women. But I knew even then that when I was having sex with these people, that there was a part of them that I was healing through the sexual act. And there were parts of me that needed sexual healing to the sexual acts of other people. So Pisces or Venus in Pisces is not bad at all. Now, if you are below age 30 and you're emotionally immature, like we've all been, then we're going to do pornography, we're going to do porno, we're going to do go-go dancing, all things that I've done and enjoyed it, every bit of it. I make no apologies of it. And if you're that type of person that's been around in the sexual industry and done all these things, you know, so what? If you enjoyed it, then that's all that matters. I did. I'm only sorry that I can go back and doing it again because I was like, please, that part of my life is over, including sex. So understand that I had to find another value system that transcended animal and empty sex and lust, and find another meaning of sex beyond the plasticity of infatuation and immediate gratification and the overindulgence of the five senses. So I do tantric sex, which is you have sex from within yourself, within your mind, and you can have some great orgasms that way without having to spill semen. But that takes time to develop, and it's a commitment that can only occur to the rightful practice of yoga. So Venus in Pisces awards us that. Is the sign of redemption. You should see the movie The Shawshank Redemption with Tom Hanks, written by Stephen King. That is an embodiment of Venus in Pisces. The black guy in the jail, oh my God, didn't you cry for him? He symbolized so much love and pain at the same time. That was symbolic of Venus in Pisces. You should watch it, Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King with Tom Hanks. Oh no, not the Shawshank Redemption. That's with Morgan Freeman. No, I'm talking about the Green Mile. The Green Mile. What the black guy in the jail? He symbolized Venus in Pisces. He was so beautiful. His heart was so beautiful. This big guy, the heart of gold. That they couldn't kill him. They couldn't kill him. They couldn't because he symbolized Venus in Pisces. You need to watch that movie, The Green Mile, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when I make reference to Venus in Pisces. We're going into now the second half of the hour. So I'm going to go for a little bathroom break. It's been 30 minutes. We're going to begin with the next 30 minutes. I'll give you 1 minute intermission. So grab a snack and come on back. All right, we're back. Echando, esto suena como suena. All right. Okay. Now the second half and my lovely. This is good beer. This is good for you. This beer. Oh, that's okay. Well, you gotta let that happen from time to time. It means abundance. The glass, the glass. This glass is symbol of Venus. The wine glass is a symbol of Venus. All right. All right, you guys got your fed. That's what you all wanted. Okay, now we're moving into the second half. Venus in Pisces. After you have to understand that for these individuals, the inner world is more unlike. Well, no, let me go back. I'm talking about impurity. Uh, there's there's a deep rooted feeling of being dirty, of being impure or unpure. Okay, and this is something that the Venus in Pisces person wants to atone for. Okay? So there's a guilt atonement complex. Remember, Pisces, along with Virgo, is the sign of the sadomasochist. So Venus in Pisces can make the person accept pain and believe themselves or convince themselves that they deserve this kind of pain because they're so dirty in the inside and filthy in the inside that the best way to atone for this inner impurity of filth that they feel deep within, that vibrates from within their soul, is that they need to go through a certain degree of suffering to balance the inner filth that they feel from within. That's deep. That means that they have a sadomasochistic relationship with themselves, where they are constantly punishing themselves. That makes sense because the opposite of Pisces is Virgo. And isn't Virgo the sign of the critic? So these people with Venus and Virgo criticize themselves to death. To death. And they feel that they deserve to criticize themselves so harshly. And therefore, because they feel that way and vibrate that, they attract abusers to them that will recapitulate and enhance that which they already feel from within themselves. That's deep. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in. This is very painful to talk about, so my music has to be uppity so I can have the psychological consistency to discuss it because this is very painful. This is very painful stuff. Sadomasochism. That's Virgo and Pisces. And I'm a Virgo, so I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry, Venus and Pisces. I'm going to help you get through this because there's a way to beat that. Okay, so having said that, the guilt ignites an instinctual reaction of denial at an unconscious level. Denial of what, you might ask? And this is where it depends on a case by case basis. This is where the birth chart is important because the birth chart will give hint towards what specifically that is. Venus in Pisces. Jamboro. This guilt atonement complex, which can lead to sadomasochistic practices, in the sense that if you vibrate this from within yourself, that you are not deserving, that you deserve pain, that you deserve to be treated in a certain way, because that will atone for the inner filth or impurity that you feel from within you. So to attract pain, to attract abuse, you feel, and this is at a subconscious level, not that this is conscious to the personality. This vibration can cause the person to attract to them like a magnet. Abusive types that will actually live out the expectations of pain and disillusionment and disappointment that they already feel that from within themselves. When I mentioned that the Pisces, the Venus in Pisces person attracts assholes, losers, well, the reason why is because the Venus in Pisces person feels that they themselves are assholes or losers in some way. In some way. And that vibration that they give off because they feel that way is what attracts abusers to them. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Venus in Pisces? You have to change your thinking. You have to change your perception. You need to watch them videos by Bruce Lipton. He's excellent. 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 He's right at what he says. Bruce Lipton. Google his shit. And he talks about it from a spiritual level, physical level, and he's a scientist. He goes into anatomy and physiology. Now, you all know that my background is biology and chemistry and biochemistry. I know what this man is talking about, and he's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. L. Ron Hubbard hinted to this when he talked about engrams. I know L. Ron Hubbard talked about some crazy shit, but that part was right. L. Ron Hubbard was right about that. And this man hints to that, and they're both right. Cha cha cha. Mi wapacha. Okay, so how do you beat this? How do you change those engrams so famously brought to the surface in the 80s by L. Ron Hubbard and his book Dianetics? Not everything I agree with, but that about the engrams, that motherfucker got that shit right. He got that shit right. Now, understand that at this level, hold on. Let me make a notation. This is very important. I want to make sure that I say it right. Where is my pen? Where's my pen? I need to, what I'm about to say, you know, it's very, let me make sure that I say this right. Because I can't do another hour. And there's so much information. Unless you guys pay 100 between all of you who have business prices, I can go into part 4, 5, 6. It's a lot to cover here. And I'm not contracted to do that. But for the right money, I will. That's the hustler in me. But you all know it's worth it because you know I'm going to deliver. But if I do that, it will take away from doing the series of the Ascendant. It's more work to do. You understand that, right? Because if I do this, I still got to do the Ascendant series on top of the additional requests that you guys asked of me. That's a lot more work. So I have to, charge you guys for that. Oh my God. I can't find the pen. So I'm going to have to make the notations in my head. I don't know what I did with my pen. I wanted to make this citation here. Understand, these are my notes. But sometimes I make citations within my own notes. Because sometimes when I make my notes, it's not me doing it. It's the archons. And then when I come to it, I'm like, you all want me to talk about this? Really? There it is. What I was looking for, here it is. Because I pray spiritually about what I'm about to talk, and I put it in the altar. Okay? Con mi bon vacilón. Okay. Cha, 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 cha. Okay. Now here we see a pivotal point. The pivotal point at a mundane level is that from the outside looking in, people might assume that the person is being abused. But they may not realize that this abuse is a vibration that the Venus in Pisces person is calling unto them because of how they feel about themselves, which has a vibration. Because it's all about the vibration. You know what I'm talking about. Haven't you met someone that has low self-esteem and it's noticeable? How do you feel next to such a person? Don't you feel like you want to slap them or even hurt them more because that's all they know? So that's what they'll respond to? Psychological and physical and domestic abuse It's not a one-way street. For you to attract an abusive partner, you need to feel a certain way about yourself that gives off the vibration that will attract to you an abusive partner. So, ladies and gentlemen, watch your thoughts. Watch what you think about yourself, because that's going to come back to you, to the partner. Venus in Pisces, the cosmic mirror. We attract who we are. So if there's abuse with your partner, then what is it about you that has given off that vibration that has brought to you an abusive person on your midst, among you? O sea, mi vacilón. If you can figure this out, the abusive patterns in your life will cease. Think about that. That's heavy. So, let us go back to the psychological dynamics that gives rise to the sadomasochistic pathology. Remember, to have Venus in Virgo and in Pisces is an opposition to Virgo. So if you have Venus in Pisces and you got planets in Virgo, those planets are opposing Venus. That in itself can bring a partner that could be abusive to you. Now, do you see why the birth chart is important? Because it is a case by case basis. But the psychological dynamics of sadomasochism is real there. It's there. It's there. It just depends on what planet is opposing Venus. So we gotta take a pause here. Ah, shit. I need to get up. I need to find this fucking pen. Can you believe this shit? Cha 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 la 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 la. Cha 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 la la la. Okay. Let's say that here's Venus. Right? There's Venus in Pisces. Right? The glip for Pisces. Now, if Venus opposes the sun, if Venus opposes the sun, then the sun is the vital force, is the ultimate identity of who you are. If Venus is in Pisces and you have the sun in Virgo, meaning that you are a Virgo, and you have the Venus in Pisces, then that means that there is a Venus-Sun opposition. When Venus and the Sun oppose each other, you lack self-awareness of the beauty within you. For example, I'm a Virgo. Now, you all know that I think very highly of myself, to the point of almost narcissistic, right? But if I was born with Venus in Pisces, which opposes the Sun in Virgo, do you think that I would love myself to the degree that I do? Do you think I would be as confident and as self-assertive and as arrogant and as self-entitled as you know me to be? Because you all know how I am, right? I will not think that I'm attractive. I will not think that I'm handsome. I will put down my own abilities. I will belittle myself or let others belittle me or abuse me. I won't see my own values because Venus rules values. Taurus, the Taurus side of Venus. And then the comparison, compare and contrast, is the Libra side of Venus. So if I don't know or compare myself, then I don't know how to validate myself or how to create a valuation of worth about myself. Again, moving to Taurus, the value system. So then if I give a vibration that I don't know myself or I'm not aware of my own beauty, of my own worth, then I'm going to attract someone who is going to make sure that I never develop my self-worth, that I never develop my self-love, that I never develop a sense of independence. I will attract a sadomasochistic partner that will ensure that I am destroyed by my own insecurity. That's deep. Let that sink in. That shit's deep. Hasta que no puedo más. Cha cha cha. Canto y bailo. Hasta que no puedo más. Now, what if we have Venus oppose the moon? If you got Venus and Pisces opposing the moon, then that means that you are crude, rude. You lack emotional empathy, compassion, consideration. You can be ungrateful and be aesthetically and socially inept. And you will attract a partner that vibrates with the same type of deficiencies. Might have no emotional regard for your feelings. Could give a shit about your feelings. A sociopath. Venus opposing the moon can give rise to a sociopath. Someone who cares nothing about feelings and emotional empathy. Venus in Pisces opposing the moon. Hasta que no puedo más. Cha cha cha. Now, what about Venus opposing Mercury? So you got Venus opposing Mercury, the planet of language and communication, aunts and uncles, cousins, brothers and sisters, the environment. So now you're not in harmony with your brothers and sisters. You're not in harmony with your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, second cousins, second cousins. You may have problems with your neighbors. You might have problems with your environment. You might have car trouble. Mercury rules cars. Your car might break down in the highway. You might have an argument with someone and immediately say something because Mercury rules communication that can hurt the other person and cut them through the core. Venus opposing Mercury. The opposition is the psychological fuel bed that breeds lack of awareness, lack of self-awareness. The square represents conflict, but the opposition in a birth chart represents lack of psychological awareness. So you might not be aware that you're coming across like a bitch or an asshole by your speech. With the moon opposing Venus, you might not be aware that you're coming across like an insensitive jerk. With the sun opposing Venus, you're giving the vibration that you don't love yourself, that you hate yourself, and therefore you're going to attract a partner that's going to relive that for you. Do you get it now? So I can go on and on and on with the other planets, but then again, since I didn't, why don't I just finish it? If you have Venus in Pisces opposing Saturn, ooh, if you have Venus opposing Saturn, your partner can die. You can get married, but outlive your partner. Or you can attract an abusive partner that can kill you. Or you can attract an abusive partner that resembles your father, because Saturn rules the father experience, while the moon rules the mother experience. With Saturn opposing Venus in Pisces, you could be self-defensive, touchy, moody, a bore to be around. You might be physically unattractive, repulsive. The Elephant Man, remember the Elephant Man? He was born with Venus opposing Saturn and opposing Uranus. And he was hideous, the Elephant Man. Now do you see why the birth chart is important? To see where this psychological sadomasochistic dynamic is expressed in the birth chart. If you got Venus in Pisces opposing Jupiter, the king of the gods, that means that you're not protected. You can die before your time. Something terrible can happen to you. Look at Jim Jones and those victims. Many of them have Venus opposing Jupiter. Many of them have Venus opposing Saturn. David Koresh and the victims that he killed, many of them had Jupiter opposing Venus. David Koresh himself in his birth chart had Venus opposing Jupiter. Ted Bundy has Venus opposing Jupiter. His victims were merciless. No one came to rescue them. They died at the mercy of this serial killer. Understand? Do you see how this works? So when you have Venus in Pisces, you attract all kinds of experiences to you. And these experiences are contingent upon how you feel about yourself in here. Then I mentioned in my other videos that the function of Venus is internal. How you feel about yourself. Whereas the moon represents the emotions that are externalized outwardly. Emotion. Motion coming out of you. Emotion. But the Venus feelings, which are different from emotions, are functions that stay in. With the moon opposing Venus, you might have been abused by your mother. Munchausen syndrome, where the mother poisons her children or makes them sick so that they can need her because then she needs that validation, right? Munchausen. That is a perfect example of Venus opposing the moon and dying at the hands of mother. Mommy Dearest. Remember Mommy Dearest, Joan Crawford? Joan Crawford had the moon opposing Venus. The bitch was unlikable, unlovable. She couldn't keep a husband. She's treated them badly. Yes, Joan Crawford was an Aries, but her subsignature was all Capricorn, baby. All Capricorn. It was a woman that you loved to hate because she hated everybody. Leona Helmsley, the woman that owned the Empire State Building in New York City, they called her the Queen of Mean. Oh, God. Because of Leona Helmsley, the tax laws in New York City and New York State were completely rechanged and revamped because of this woman not paying the taxes and getting away with murder. Because of Leona Helmsley, the tax laws in the United States, which later took trend, began in New York because of millionaires or billionaires like her. Which, the late Leona Helmsley is now deceased. So understand that the opposition of Venus in Pisces is deep and intense, and it has a sadomasochistic bent. Venus in Pisces opposing Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. This position is so fucking deep. Can you imagine Scorpio? With Venus opposing Pluto, we're talking about Adolf Hitler, Jim Jones, David Koresh, Charles Manson, Son of Sam, Ted Bundy. All of them had this opposition and they were killers. Venus in Pisces. So, If you have an opposition to Venus by these planets, understand that that's going to give rise to sadomasochistic behaviors, and which you might attract a partner who's abusive, insensitive, mean, but only because he's going to reflect that nature which already exists within you. So it's important that if you have Venus in Pisces, that you understand how this function can help you or hurt you depending upon how you feel about yourself. Because the Venus function, remember, is a feeling function of compare and contrast. You're comparing yourself to external forces. You're comparing yourself to someone else. Am I better than this person, or is this person better than me? That's a comparison. When you have Venus and Pisces opposing these planets, you are going to choose the other person as better than you. And if you do that, that vibration will attract an abuser to you. That's going to relive what you already feel about yourself. Do you see how that works? So Pisces, particularly Venus in Pisces, if you don't want to attract losers, change the perception of how you see yourself. Venus in Pisces. Let's recap. With Venus in Pisces, is beautiful, it's magical, it's antithetical, it's mystical, but it does exposes you to tremendous suffering and pain. Okay? A variation of this dynamic correlates to Venus in Pisces individuals who feel so inferior and weak, so without any personal power, so victimized by life itself that they allow themselves to become very vicarious extensions of someone else's reality, like an appendage. They have no self-esteem, and the self-worth is so low, and they feel so inferior that they feel that the best way that they can be helpful to anyone is if they are a doormat or some kind of an appendage to someone else's reality that's better than they are. That's awful. If you have Venus in Pisces, I hope you don't see yourself this way. I hope you don't think of yourself that low, that inferior, that you deserve to be shitted on and treated with indignity. If you feel that way, I will cry for you. Thank God for my Aries moon. I don't let nobody try to treat me anything better than how I feel I should be treated. I'll tell you a new one. But I have a very strong sense of self and a very strong self-belief and value and worth of myself. And I am not going to allow anyone to mistreat me or treat me less than how I treat myself. And that is the power of self-belief and self-worth. If you vibrate that, no one can come and abuse you or mistreat you. And if you attract someone that mistreats you or tries to abuse you, then you have to reevaluate how you feel and think about yourself, because the way you think and feel about yourself is going to give signals, vibratory signals to the outside that will attract to you an abusive partner or a partner that will love you. It's contingent upon how you see yourself and perceive yourself. So Venus in Pisces, develop the inner strength or you will be destroyed by lesser qualified motherfuckers who should never be in your vibration in the first place. So understand that there's a powerful lesson to learn here about self-validation, self-love, and self-worth that has to begin with you. No one else can give you that. Venus in Pisces. And if you get that, ain't no motherfucker or bitch can ever hurt you and treat you less than what you deserve to be treated. But you have to. You must make a conscious decision to move towards a direction where you love yourself, validate yourself. And if you don't know that, then I suggest you get yourself an astrologer and get a birth chart done so he can help you pick out the positive traits from within you. And then you can build from there and start edifying and building your own index or catalog of self-worth. Because there is no human being on this planet that's worth abuse of any kind unless we allow it. And we are done with this segment.